Hey everybody, it's me, Undead Viking, here to tell you about another cool new game that I've been playing a lot of lately. The game is called Transylvania, Curses and Traitors. And as you can probably guess, this is by the name Transylvania, and by this cover of the two intrepid adventurers beset upon by these horrible monsters. You can probably guess that this is a horror-themed game, and it isn't like a, like a Cthulhu mythos giant, horrible horror, beyond beneath the waves type of horror. It's classic movie monster horror. It's the three bad guys, and the bad guys actually are going to be played by players, maybe. The three bad guys are vampires, werewolves, and zombies. Classic movie horror genre monsters. There are a few games out there well, actually, there's a lot of games out there, definitely zombie games, but there aren't a ton of games out there that embrace the classic horror movie monster genre. And I kind of grew up with those movies. I grew up watching, my parents got divorced when I was really young, and I would go and I'd spend the weekends with my father. And this is, like, I'm old, so this is before cable TV, right? And so we'd stay up late at night and we'd watch the public access channel that we had, which was the precursor to what is now like Fox. And they would have old black and white horror movies on. And I remember sitting down and watching those with my dad all the time. And I kind of grew up watching that stuff. And I've always kind of dug that, not really, it's kind of campy, but it's supernatural, and not like today's supernatural, if you know what I mean. But it was always just kind of like those monsters were just bigger than life for me. And there's games out there that have those in there. Fury of Dracula is a great game. I love it a lot. There's games from Flying Frog, Something Wicked, A Touch of Evil, and Something Wicked, the expansion. There's another expansion. I never got that. But I mean, stuff like that has it as well. But it's really kind of an untapped well of theme that just isn't being used. And so when this game came to my attention, and I kind of just actually, of all places, I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook. I know I have a video page on Facebook for my stuff, but I don't really spend a lot of time on there. And I saw this. It was just posted on some board game website. I saw a picture of this game board, and I immediately was just like, oh, I can't wait for this game to come out. I've got to try this out. It looked like the things that I wanted and the things that I was looking forward to. So, and it's something that I didn't have a lot of games that represented. So, as luck would have it, I mean, it was one of those things too. I saw it and I was like, oh, I'll have to wait for that to come out. And then the designers of the game actually contacted me and flat out just said, hey, we've gotten done with this game. We've got our prototypes. Would you like to take a look at it and tell us what you think? And I said, yes, please. And so they were cool enough to send me a copy, and I played it with my game group, and we've really enjoyed it. It kind of hits on all cylinders for us. The way we're kind of we enjoy thought-provoking Euro games, stuff like that, but at our heart, we are kind of a dice-rolling thematic gaming group. And so we've kind of embraced this game, and we've been enjoying it a lot. So I'm going to show you how to play. There really isn't that much to it. You're going to see a lot of things about this game that you've seen represented in other games of a thematic or a Ameritrash genre. But there's some really cool things that can happen while you play this game, and plus it's just one of those games that you can kind of sink your teeth into the theme and just really start enjoying it. But I'll get into more of that when I do my conclusion. So why don't I show you how to play Transylvania, Curses and Traitors. Alright, cool. This is what Transylvania Curses and Traitors looks like during a game in mid-progress. I've just kind of set these tiles up to show the beginnings of a game as the intrepid adventurers are moving out into the town, and they're trying to collect the knowledge cards that they need, the quest knowledge cards they need, to solve the curse that is befuddling the town, that is creating monsters that are attacking the poor people that live in this area of the world. This is a game that is probably going to take up a good chunk of real estate on your gaming table, due to the fact that you do build the game board as you play, and these tiles that you have are huge. They're big and they're beautiful, and they've just got all kinds of cool little things on there, and I'll explain what all those little symbols are and everything here in just a moment. But just be warned, you are going to need some space to play this game, because the game board can get quite big. Each person takes a turn, just like you would expect in any game. You just kind of go around the table, and each person is going to move their pawn around the table, and they're going to be trying to collect these quest tokens. And I'll explain that in just a little bit, because as you collect quest tokens, it allows you to collect quest cards. And as you collect quest cards, that gets you the knowledges that you need to be able to solve the curse, which is one way to win the game. If you manage to get 5 knowledge cards, of which at least 3 of them are specific to the 3 different types of monsters, like the big monsters that you have, a vampire, you have a werewolf, and you have zombies. As long as you have one of each of those and then 2 more, then you can go and you can make it back to the church. Then you win the game. Alternatively, you can win the game if you get transformed into the zombie, the vampire, or the werewolf, and you manage to kill the other players, equal to half of the number of players in the game, rounded up. Now, you might say, well, there's only 3 players in this game. How are you gonna, you have to kill 2 of them? But even if you're killed, this is a game where you get to come back. And just, start off with a new character, you start off with a church, and you can go ahead and keep trying to win. Also, you can win the game if, as a human player, if you can track down one of the monsters. If another player has become a monster, you can track down one of those monster players, and if you kill them, then you win as well. Now, one of the things also is interesting, and this hasn't happened in our games yet, but if everybody becomes a monster, then, like, if you're playing a 3-player game and everybody's a monster, then you can, as a monster, you can kill another monster, and then, like, you'd win the game by killing a monster. But we have played a 3-player game where there was just one human, and they were running for their lives as the 2 monsters were chasing them down, trying to rip them apart. But anyway, so I've just picked like 3 people here that play, and you can just kind of tell, like, the blue guy over there is the inventor, and this is just these stats over here. This is a health bar that you just can move this little clip up and down to determine your health. As always, this is a prototype I got. It is a beautiful looking prototype, but this may or may not be indicative of what the game looks like when it gets published. So just, as always, I always give that disclaimer. But this is these footprints, as you can probably guess, are your movement. This is your attack dice, and then this is like your mind, and I think this is I forget what it's called. But these traits determine spirit. I'm sorry. These traits determine like how many dice you get to roll when you have to do certain actions. And you can see these dice. They have this wolf symbol on them, which it doesn't help you at all unless you're a werewolf. If you're a werewolf and you roll that die and you get a wolf, you get extra movement and you're more powerful. But they have pips, like 1, 2, and 3. And so rolling the dice is kind of a crapshoot, because you don't, like, if you're saying rolling 3 dice and your target is like 3 or higher, you're rolling these, and, like, in this case, well, that's good, I got 2 and 2 with 4. But a lot of times, obviously, if you start getting a lot of wolves, you're not going to roll really high. So the dice are actually very unforgiving in this game, but that's fine. So you have this inventor, you have the secret agent, and then here's the big game hunter. Obviously, they don't have the artwork for the big game hunter in this case, but the game is for 3 to 6 people, so I had to have a 3rd player. So there you go. So anyway, as the game is played, you just on your turn. You have to take your actions, and the actions you have available to you are pretty straightforward. Obviously, the big one is moving. Moving is a big thing. Every time you see a footprint, that's 1 point of movement. So if your movement is 6, and you wanted to get to this quest token over here, you'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, and you get there. You can give up some of your movement if you so desire, but you always have to move at least 1 space on your turn. You can't just stay put. Now, you can stop your movement at any time and do other actions. There's nothing preventing you from, moving a space, trying to get a quest token, moving another space, attacking a monster, moving another space, resolving an event, things like that. You just keep going until basically there's nothing else you can do. Usually it's because you run out of movement points and you're just on wherever you are and you just can't do anything else. It is important to note that you can backtrack. So if you were this character, you could go 1, 2, 3, 4, get the quest thing, and then you got 2 movement points. You can go 1, 2, and you can backtrack back where you're going. Obviously, if you reach the edge of any location like so, you then can draw a tile, and so you can draw the next tile. So if you moved 1, 2, and you wanted to move into this tile, you draw a tile, and like here you have this one. It is town 2, it's just the second town tile, and you place this on the board. You can move it however you like. When you're the one that discovers the tile, you can put it on however you want. But as soon as you get the tile, you do have to set tokens on it to represent. So in these spots where there's quest tokens, you got to take these quest tokens and put those on there like so. And then you have this location right here. This is a secret passageway, and you can see that there's another secret passageway right there. You can quickly move from either spot to either spot, but there is a lock on it, and so you have to get an item that unlocks the spot. There's like skeleton keys in the quest deck, and when you have those, you can then get through the different locked doors. So whenever so that's just whenever you add a tile, you have to do that. So what you can do on your turn, what you're going to be doing a lot of, is you're going to go on to these spots that have these quest tokens, and you're going to turn them over. And there's going to be a number and a stat on there. And what that tells you is you have to take whatever your ability is in this. So if this is the big game hunter, he has a 3 over there in that stat. On 3 dice, like I said before, I've got to get a 4 or higher on 3 dice. And so then you would roll to try to do that. And I did. I got lucky, actually. So I got a 3 and a 1, and I got 4. And so then you can draw a quest card. And so, in this case, it's holy water. Let's go and see. Notice that this is a knowledge. And so it is a yellow knowledge, so that's one of the knowledge things I need. Over here, it gives me a +1 to that stat that I just rolled on, and then it has some text here. And once this card has been activated, you may discard it on a future turn and add 3 health. When facing a monster, add 3 to the total of your attack roll. So, obviously, it's a pretty good item. Now, when they start to activate, what they're talking about is because you can have a hand of 4 cards that you'll just have in your hand that you can decide what you want to do. But you put a card down in front of you and you activate it, and then you can show that this now affects you, and so you get all of the bonuses. And there's lots of cards that have negatives to stats that allow you to have that, and it's out there ready to be used. You can only ever have 4 cards in front of you that are like items or knowledges or what have you. And if you want to add another one, you have to take one back, either discard it or put it back in your hand if you have space in your hand, and put the other card out. You can only normally activate 1 card at a time, but there are different situations that will allow you to immediately activate a card. Sometimes you'll get a quest card that just says immediately activate this card, and so you have to put it down. Usually it's something bad, and you will then have to put it down. That doesn't count as the one you choose to put down in front of you. You are Like, if you happen to, like, if somebody is out and about as a monster and you're on the same spot as a monster, you can choose to attack the monster if you want to attack them. Monsters are pretty tough, though, so unless you get powerful enough to do so, that's probably not the wisest thing in the world. If you are on the space with another adventurer, like if two of you are on the same spot, and it's interesting to note that if two of you are in the same spot as another person, you can't get through them. Two people can share a spot, but then they block the path for anybody else that wants to go through. You don't necessarily have to attack the person that you're on, but what you can do is you can challenge them for one of their quest cards, in which case then the person who attacks picks the stat that they want to use with this, plus any bonuses they have. Both players roll the dice. Whoever gets the higher, if you get the higher amount, you get to take one of that person's quest cards, either the ones they have activated, put in front of them, or one randomly out of their hand. It's up to you as far as, what route you want to go. If you get a tie, the tie doesn't go to defense or anything like that. If you roll a tied number, you will then go ahead and re-roll, and so until there's finally a winner. The thing about this is that you aren't protected being the attacker. Lots of games I know I've played that, like, if the attacker loses, or nothing happens. If you lose as the attacker, the other person actually gets to take a quest card from you. So you got to kind of be sure that you're pretty sure you can take that person on when you attack them to take that out. The only other thing really that's kind of important about moving around is that there's these spots that have these E's on them, and that means you're going to draw an event every single time you go through a spot that has an E. Sometimes you'll have a spot with a quest token like this, and if you end up on that spot with a quest token, you don't encounter the E until you actually get the quest token. So you might claim the quest token, yay, I get a quest card, but then you have to go through the event. Events seems to be nearly always horrible and awful, and they seem to be a bad deal. I'll show you an event card here in a second. There's also, if you have there's the spot right here, this is a locked quest token, and so like you actually have to be able to unlock that location to be able to do that. There are, and I'll have to dig through the pile here really quick. Oh, actually no, there's one right here. I forgot to put it on there. There are gates. Also, you put locks on that block the path, but things like this that are with the lock with the footprints on, you can walk past that one. It doesn't blocking your movement or anything. When you draw an event card, it just tells you something that happens. Like this one is the Revenge of Dracula. You place the card in the center of the church. When active, the card counts as 1 vampire bite for each adventurer. Vampire bites obviously is a way somebody can turn into a vampire. So if that's the case, maybe this card will make somebody turn into a vampire. Other events are just kind of like bad deals. Like you run into this old man. What's he gonna do? And so make a mind roll. It's like it's like if he beckons you towards you, speak with him for a few moments, gives you an old book. Mind roll. 0 through 3. You don't speak Latin. He looks disappointed in you. Discard the card. You are wise and you have an open mind. Draw 1 quest and you may activate this card for 1 spirit. So this can be a card that you activate in front of you. The cool thing about events, if you actually activate them in front of you, event cards can't be taken from you. So it's kind of nice. There's also obviously bad things that can happen to you, like the swamp creature or something like that, who will jump out and you can take damage from that. Great big spider, so it isn't always like that old man. It wasn't exactly bad, but most of these things tend to be like bad for you and tend to hinder you a bit. So be wary to walk through a spot that has an event card on it. The only other thing, before I show you the monsters, the only other thing you can do is that if you are like debilitated, like sometimes you'll have quest cards that you'll want to use that give you fairly like big minuses to certain attributes. Like here's one that, you know, gives you -1 to your mind, but +1 to your spirit. You know, so, and things like that. And but you want to be able to use that item. You know, you don't want to, like, lose it, or you might get something, you know, bad, like, you know, the pentagram, you know, and -1 to both, things like that. You can try to, after you've kind of done all of your actions, you can choose one of your stats. You know, one of these 3, and you can do what's called a determination roll. You have to roll the dice for that stat, and you have to get 2 or less. And I'll just try 3 here. And of course I do it. I've been rolling really well. Last time I played this, I got destroyed, and because I couldn't roll anything worth anything. But I'm doing pretty well. So what you can do then is, if you succeed, you can take one of these tokens that represents it, and you can place it on your card, and that's just like a permanent +1. And so you can do that once per turn as well. After you've done all your actions, you've done your determination roll, you have to discard down to 4 cards in your hand, and then the next person can go. You know, that's pretty much it. The only other things, before I show you the monsters, I know I've been hinting at the monsters for a while, but the only other really thing is that if you do get killed, like, you have to pick a new hero. And so, you know, if you know, so, like, next person you might take might, you know, actually be the hero, you know, and then you start off in the church. Now, when you start off in the church, immediately when somebody dies, these little quest token spots, you populate them all with quest tokens. So if you, like, it's like midway through the game and, like, everybody else are totally decked out and good to go, you get dropped down there, and you immediately can just start grabbing quest tokens to kind of, like, reboot yourself, if you will. And monsters can't go in there. If they do, they take damage, and they can't stay in there. So it's kind of a safe haven to start. So if you're worried about, like, if this is one of those games where, you know, you've been playing it for 45 minutes, you just got killed, all of a sudden, like, now everybody else is way far ahead. There is a fairly good catch-up mechanism that allows you to get back into the game. And okay, now finally I'll tell you about the monsters. So a lot of times what's going to happen is you're going to get cards like this that have a T up in the middle. This biological agent. A strange plague is affecting the villagers. You fear you've got it too. You place this card in your hand and keep it. You may not discard this card until another player becomes a zombie. So you're just sitting there. And it says if you possess the Super Serum, the Necronomicon, or 2 biological agents, or die while holding this card, you become a zombie. And so drawing quest cards, obviously, is one of those things where it's like, it's like, I hope I don't get another one of those horrible biological agents, you know. But it's a card that you keep in your hand that you can't get rid of. And so the other players don't really know what's going to happen, but all of a sudden if you draw another card, and here I just found the other biological agent, if you drew both of these, you'd say, I'm the zombie now, and you immediately replace your character, and you dig out the zombie. Here's this beautiful lady, and you immediately take it over, and you can see, like, they have 7 movement and 8 attack. They have 10 health, and each and then here I'll just show you. Here's the werewolf, and here's the vampire. Now, you know, some people might be saying, well, the zombie, like, they're, like, not as powerful as these two. But the big thing is that zombies get access to zombie minions, and who they get to spit these out as they go, and these things, they have pretty much unlimited supply of these. As they get killed, they just get more, and then you can send these out to go ahead and attack the human players as you're playing. Werewolves, as I said, they get to roll a die before their turn. If it comes up a werewolf like that, they get some extra power and extra ability because it's during a full moon. Vampires, besides just being tough and powerful, they can pass without trace. They're the only monsters that can actually use the secret passageways, and they can really start tracking down people via that. So immediately when somebody becomes a vampire or a werewolf or a zombie, they start hunting down the other players. And if you manage to kill, as I said, if you kill enough of those human players, the number of players in the game, rounded up, so 5 would be 3, 4 would be 2, you win the game. And it's kind of been 50-50 for us as far as like who's winning the game and who isn't. I think maybe the monsters have had a little bit of an edge, but I think a lot of that has to be with the fact that I think my buddy Craig and my buddy Joel just really like being the monster. So I think they kind of gun for it in a weird way, but which is really not possible though, because it just seems like maybe they're just getting lucky, because you have to draw these cards. I mean, you have to like be lucky enough or unlucky enough, if you will, to get the cards that double-barreled shotgun. You know, you have to like be cool enough, good enough that you like get a werewolf card, and then maybe you get like a full moon card that I think is the one for that. Wooden stake, but so or like you have to get like one of those big events that happen that kind of push you further along the path to becoming that monster. So I kind of like dig being the human and being chased and pulling off the win. There's nothing more satisfying for me than getting that 5th knowledge card and heading into the middle. I know, like I said, that like you have 4 in your hand and 4 down here. There are cards in the quest deck that allow you to increase your hand size though. So that's another thing that goes on in the game. But there you go. That should give you a pretty good overview on how to play Transylvania, Curses, and Traitors. So let me tell you exactly why we've been enjoying this game as much as we have. Alright, so there you go. That's how you play Transylvania, Curses, and Traitors. So, as you probably got from my enthusiasm in the introduction and also the gameplay, you probably know that I really like this game, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. But, I did mention in the introduction that, as far as the actual mechanics of the game, it really isn't brand new in a lot of ways. But what I really like about the game is that, beyond the fact that you get to be a monster, which is, obviously really cool, that you get to be a werewolf possibly, and you get to chase your friends down and eat them, and stuff like that. And, I've always been partial to the werewolf over the vampire. I know that, like, vampires are all cool and brooding and whatever, and they definitely have their place, if you will. But, I've always just kind of dug the werewolf more. I don't think they get enough credit, if you will. I think the whole Howl at the Moon thing, I've always kind of really liked that portion. So, so that's just neither here nor there. It's just my own personal feeling. So, that part is cool. I mean, the whole process of, it's like, of like being turned into the bad guy and then being able to immediately start, chasing down your opponents and trying to knock them out, is the one thing about the game that I really, really like. I dig that. And the fact that, like, you don't know if the people are going to be, like, turning, per se. You don't know if they have all the cards in their hand or whatever that are going to, like, make them transform. You can probably have a good idea. I mean, and sometimes you do know, just because of, things that have happened in the game. But sometimes you have no idea. And then all of a sudden somebody gets knocked down and they're dead, and then they're like, and I'm going to be a vampire. And you're like, ah! And so, because you're like 3 steps away and you don't want to get slaughtered by them or whatever. But there's a lot of that part's like super cool. But what I really like about games like this is that designers, when you make a thematic game, you have to make the game has to kind of just drip with the theme. It has to just embody everything. And everything about this game, I mean, from the looks of it, I love the look of the tiles. I really just, they're kind of eerie and spooky. And they're not like super dark either. It isn't like, they're like, oh, look how dark and dreary this area is. No, they have this weird unearthly light to them, which I really think is a cool effect that they have. And, you know, and everything, like, you know, the events, you know, obviously, like, when you have the event deck, you want these to tell a fun little story, you know, and just have kind of like this cool little, like, interaction that you have. And the reason why games like this work for me and my gaming group is that maybe it's because we're kind of a role-playing game group first, that we started playing together. These guys that I've known for, you know, well, my entire life, basically. We started playing Dungeons and Dragons and games like that, and so we've kind of embodied that story esque attitude when it comes to our games, and we just inherently start acting them out, and we start, you know, just saying, you know, funny little one-liners and things like that. And the game doesn't, it kind of like isn't a game anymore. It's just kind of an event for us to kind of goof around and have a good time. And you know, and the game is just the reason why we're there together. And this is one of those games where, like, months later, we'll reference it, and somebody will remark, you remember that time when, like, you got stuck in the quicksand and, like, you had to roll a really good roll, and you managed to get out of the quicksand only to have Joel turn into a werewolf and just jump on top of you and eat you anyway? So you thought you were going to win, but he got you, and we'll laugh, and we'll go, yeah, that was awesome. Because, like, we picture that in our mind. You know, you see that in the horror movie of the guy, you know, struggling, you know, to the shore as the quicksand's trying to draw him under, and, you know, he finally, like, rolls up, he's all wet, he's like, oh, he turns, and the world, you know, just comes together, and we, like, feel that, you know, and so it's a game that, like, yeah, you could, you know, pick on it a little bit as far as, you know, the actual, like, gameplay bare bones of it, but that isn't what this game is about. This isn't, I mean, the mechanics and the gameplay are rock solid. There isn't any problem with them. There is nothing, you know, there's no issue. There's no questions about the rules. It's very straightforward. It's the actual, like, play, the inspiration, the movie that you're playing in your mind as you play the game that makes this game awesome for me and my friends. And so, you know, if you're a person that is really big into, like, the horror genre, if you're really big into that, like, thematic gameplay, if you like dice, if you know, just like that whole process, like, you know, the reading out the event cards, you know, to everybody at the table, and, like, that whole kind of, you know, event, if you will, like I mentioned a few times, that the gameplay session is, then I think this game is, like, a perfect fit for you and your group. And I would, like, strongly suggest that you go and check the game out at Kickstarter, check out what the game looks like, read the rules, you know, see the things that, you know, and then if you decide that you want it, just go ahead and throw your hard-earned money at the project, and then when it gets published, you'll get a super, super cool looking game that you'll be able to have fun and experience with your friends. So, there you go. So, the game is Transylvania Curses and Traitors. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions, I'm sure I can answer them. If for whatever reason I can't, I'm pretty positive that the designers of the game will be more than happy to pop in and offer up their 2 bits as well. So, well, there you go. Until next time, this was Undead Viking, and you have yourself an awesome day. Alright, bye-bye.